I'd like to call our city council meeting to order. It's September 26, 2018. We have all of our city council members here with us this evening. So to begin, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Hiram Flynn. Hiram.
Audience, please rise. Please join the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Audience may be seated.
Thank you, Hiram. The first item of business is a resolution, approved resolution 18-166, confirming the appointment of Brian Clegg as the Public Works Director and administer the oath of office. David Rickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, I believe, is present. Or he was? Okay. I'm looking for your family, Brian. I thought they would like to be present, and I'd ask if Brian couldn't take a minute to at least introduce his family to us.
Thanks, David. I'll have my wife, Leilani. Today, I need to publicly announce 26 years of marital bliss today to her. My son, Cameron, and my oldest son, Brandon. And then my father, David Clegg, and my stepmom, Carol Clegg. So, thank you.
At this point, Mayor, if we could administer the oath and then as customary, step off the dais so there can be a picture taken if that's acceptable.
Point of order, do we need to vote to approve the resolution first?
I think you're right. We need to do that. And this being a resolution, I think we need to have, is there any discussion first to that resolution?
I'll put a motion out there.
And then we'll discuss it. Thank you.
Move to approve resolution 18-166.
And I'll second it. Now, is there any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, then let's vote.
Councilmember Burton?
Yes.
Mayor Riding?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey?
Aye.
Councilmember Whitelock?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Vote passes 7 in favor.
Let's step down off the dais.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Brian
Done?
We'll now move to communications and begin with our city manager and staff. So turn the time over to you for a few minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you, Councilman McConaughey, for reminding me the resolution needed to be passed. I appreciate that. At this point, I can share that there are two members of the team that need to share information this evening. They are Scott Langford from Development and Brian Clegg from Public Works. Beyond that, I have nothing else to add this evening. Thank you.
So Mayor, Council, two bits of information for you. First, I'm pleased to announce that West Jordan will be the host city for the 2019 Utah chapter of the American Planning Association. What that means is we'll have about 300 planners, elected officials, and so forth coming to West Jordan, which is great. We're working on a venue right now, and it'll be a good opportunity to showcase what we're doing around here, and it'll be a good collaborative effort with surrounding cities as well. So that's some great news that I just received. And then secondly, as a reminder, at the end of October, on October 30th at 6 p.m., that is a joint Planning Commission City Council meeting. And we've been asked by the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce to come and present some of their thoughts about the affordable housing issues that you hear in the news. And that seems to be the topic du jour. And so, in addition to housing affordability, if the council has any other issues that they'd like to be discussed on that evening, please let me know, or Mr. Bricky know, and we'll get that plugged into the agenda. But it's a great opportunity for us to collaborate with the planning commissioners and make sure that we're all on the same page moving forward. So that's all I've got.
Quick question, was this a Salt Lake Planning Department that's coming, or who is it again?
Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce. Okay. Some of you attended the Utah League of Cities and Towns conference a couple weeks ago. There was a little bit of that presentation given at one of the, I think, the lunch keynote. And so what the Salt Lake Chamber is doing, they're part of the Housing Coalition, and they're going around to the various cities talking about this and just to open the dialogue about potential solutions to address this topic.
Mayor and Council, based on that presentation at the League meeting, I've concluded it's better to have it as a business item in which there can be an exchange of dialogue rather than just a presentation. So you can anticipate the ability to ask questions, maybe make a statement regarding those statements that are shared with you. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we moved it. Normally, the chamber is going to come and present, have 10 minutes max. We found that an open dialogue would be the best, and that workshop's going to be a free-flow discussion anyway, and that'll be a good opportunity for the council to engage. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Just quick shout out to you folks and Mr. Bricky and everyone that made it to the pipe cutting for the Public Works ribbon cutting. We call it a pipe cutting because we deal with pipe. The mayor did a great job handling the K-12 and it was good, but thank you for your support.
Thank you. That was a very fun activity and so glad to see everybody in that building. So it was good. We'll go to council comments, and we'll start on this end with Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually had a question for Mr. Langford. I want to know if there was you mentioned that with the presentation there'd be 10 minutes. How much of the meeting do they anticipate that they're going to use up?
Well, we can lock them down to however you feel is appropriate. When we were first contacted, they were requesting 20 to 30 minutes, And as a general policy, if they were to attend a regular council meeting and do a presentation, we limit that to 10 minutes. And so I said, you got to squeeze that down. And when I told them that typically there isn't much Q&A back and forth, we worked together to find a better solution. And we kept delaying this. And as we got closer to our planned meeting, our workshop with the Planning Commission, we felt that that was the best venue. So if the council wants to give me direction to give them a certain time frame, I mean, we could use hours on this topic, but certainly
my fear.
we want to be respectful of and efficient with the use of time. So, yeah, you let me know as a council, and I'll deliver that message to you.
I think if we were trying to stay with the rules, if everybody's okay, they'd have 10 minutes to make their presentation during the business item, and then we'd have an opportunity to ask questions and have a dialogue with them.
I would be okay with 15 minutes total for the presentation time and 10 minutes for questions interspersed throughout, so no more than 25 total for that particular item, so we can move on to the other items.
Any other discussion regarding that? And if none, then we'll go with that. Okay, so is that the direction needed? Okay, anything else? Councilmember McConaughey? Councilmember Burton?
Thank you, Mayor. So I've had some neighbors contact me about concerns about parking for West Jordan High School. Some of the street parking that some of the students are doing over that high school. They contacted me last year, but after the summer came, I got no complaints all summer long. But now the school's back on, they're coming back again. So I am going to be holding a town hall meeting at David Roberts' house on August 4th at 5:30 p.m.
October?
Oh, no, October, thank you. I did say August. Thank you for catching it. So it's a Thursday, October 4th at 5:30 p.m. And I will be putting that on the District 2 Facebook page for those who are interested in that. Or if you don't have connection with that, give me a call. I can give you Mr. Roberts' address and refer the time to you. But we'll be discussing that at a town hall meeting. See if we can come up with some good solutions to help the neighborhood in that area. That's all I have today, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Lamb?
Nothing tonight, thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Whitelock?
Just a reminder that on tomorrow, there's a CPR first aid class that's been offered by our Healthy West Jordan group. That was a class that was limited in numbers that could participate, so if you're one of those that signed up, make sure you join us. The following Thursday on October 4th is an addiction awareness dinner at this building at 6:30, and there's still opportunity to sign up for that, so you get a free dinner and you get some very useful information on opioid addictions.
There's a panel, correct, that's going to discuss that night?
Yes, there will be a panel of experts there to help us learn more and what we can do as a community to help.
Thank you. Councilmember Jacob?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick thing that affects West Jordan residents, although it's not the responsibility of this body specifically. Last night, you may have heard the school board put out their proposals for boundary changes for the whole school district. It affects West Jordan residents. However, it is not the purview of this body in any way, shape, or form. So please don't call me. No, I'm just throwing that out there. Happy to introduce you to any school board member you'd like to meet. I know several of them personally, so happy to make introductions. But just throwing that out there is something to be aware of. I think it's boundary.jordandistrict.org is the website to go check it out and see if it affects you and see if it affects your family. Most families will be affected one way or another, so it's something good to be aware of and to know that it's out there.
There's one school in our city is going to be closing. Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. It's nice to be last because I can kind of wrap up a couple things. Number one, I was appreciative to be able to attend the pipe cutting at our new Public Works building, and that was very exciting. Want to welcome our scouts that are here, and glad they're here to be able to see how their city works. And following up on what Councilman Jacobs said on the school boundaries, there will be a parent university tomorrow. I can't remember the location.
West Jordan High School.
West Jordan High School, thank you. That's, I think, 6:30.
I'm not sure on the time, but I know that's the location.
And then there is an open house at Copper Hills High School on October 3rd, a week from tonight. That will be at Copper Hills High School at 6:30 p.m. And then on the 10th of October, there will be the same open house at West Jordan High School, also at 6:30. So just 1 week later, I would encourage our West Jordan residents to be involved and participate in those processes, even though that is a Jordan School District decision. It does affect our residents.
Regarding that as well, there's said last night they'll have a survey online, probably on that same website that residents can also take.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I have not received notification that anyone wants to pull anything from the consent item.
Can we make a clarification?
Oh, we do have a clarification coming.
That parent meeting is actually at their board, in their boardroom, and that's located at 12723 South Park Avenue in Riverton.
I think I'll just go through. Councilmember Anderson, did you?
No, thank you for the clarification, and I'm going to move to approve the consent calendar items.
Before we do that, I forgot one important thing, and that is citizen comments.
Oh.
And so I'd like to open that up at this time for anyone. I didn't have anyone sign up, so if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come up and address the council, and now would be the time. A reminder that you'd have 3 minutes, and the timer will be out here so you can see that. At this time, I'll open the meeting up for citizen comments. If anyone's interested, please come to the podium.
I think we should make a inside football field.
Oh, time's up.
By the Imperial Oak Drive neighborhood.
Thank you.
Mayor, could we get the young man's name for the record?
Please, can you come back up and just give us your name?
Elijah Sturzer.
Eli what?
Elijah Sturzer.
Thank you. And please, your name as well.
Yeah, I'm Matt Erickson. I live in Draper now, but I lived in West Jordan for about 10 years. I want to talk to the council about the Proposition 2. I want to give a little bit of perspective on the idea of marijuana or drug use. We're affected in Utah by federal law. The federal law says that marijuana is a Schedule I drug, which means it can't be experimented on. It can't be studied scientifically. I think Utah has an opportunity to show the federal government that we think that this should be changed, that we can look at something that's natural and take it back out of and at least use it in a different way. For example, sugar is a refined sugar. It's a natural product. You take it and refine it, and it becomes crystal sugar. And we all love our crystal sugar, and so I do think that we should be sure and vote on that topic as the citizens, and I want to thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else that would like to address council this evening? Seeing none, I will close the citizen comments and go back to Councilmember Anderson.
I'd like to move to approve the consent items 6A as in alpha to 6J as in jump.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a motion by Councilmember Anderson and a second by Councilmember Jacob. Any discussion to the motion? Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be in opposition because I was trying to get attention to pull item J for discussion.
Councilmember Anderson.
I will modify my motion to approve 6A through 6I as in igloo.
Councilmember Jacob.
I'll second.
So we have that amended motion and a second. Any more discussion to that motion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Riding,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Burton,
Yes?
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey. The vote passes 7 in favor.
Okay, we'll go to J, approve resolution 18-167, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Cultural Arts Society of West Jordan to promote various forms of art in the community. Councilmember Anderson, his name is on here, but Councilmember McConaughey has pulled it for discussion. So we'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just really quick, and I apologize for not reaching out to staff and Councilmember Anderson sooner. I had some clarification that I was hoping to get on this, specifically where code refers to an arts council, the contract is referring to an art committee, and it's also talking about, the contract talks about the youth theater as being part of the art committee. However, in our code, if you look at chapter 17, code currently has that, the youth theater underneath the youth committee. So I think there might be a little bit of housekeeping that needs to happen to put it back. I know we've previously discussed and said we wanted to have that moved back from the youth committee, which is no longer functioning, to be with the art council, which has been, that's the way it's been operating now for a couple of years. I wanted to make sure that any formalization of that in code before we enact this contract could take place so that we didn't have any questions with ambiguity as to where the youth theater really belongs. That's why I wanted that one pulled. So
Let me ask our city attorney or city manager, either or, is there any problem in making that amendment to the code as was suggested?
I know that the 501c3 is very anxious to move forward. Their feelings are that presently that they have debt incurring and wanted to see that this resolution happen quickly for the purposes of at least establishing the ability to start paying some of the bills that they're incurring. Additionally, the concept behind it was again to shut down those existing committees that the city had previously created and then start using the grant process to be awarding to the 501c3, including the youth groups. I'm told that Vic, yes, has talked to all the groups and they're all on board, they're all supportive. That was what he shared with Mr. Wall and I just Friday. And I'm looking into the audience to see if he's here by chance. He's not, but it's my understanding that all of the groups understood that they would be getting a follow-up resolution dissolving their existing groups and then start working through the 501c3 to fundraise and put their request forward as a grant process. Now, I don't know if that answers Councilman McConaughey's concerns or questions. I guess I'd have to ask him.
Well, I guess my question too for Councilmember McConaughey and both, and you as well, is that with the resolution the way it's stated and with the fact that they're supposed to come back with resolutions to dissolve those different committees, correct? Is that correct?
That is correct. We'd have to go back through, but the 501c3 was feeling pressure. They don't have the funds currently to pay some of the bills that they're incurring. My explanation to them, this was the last of the funding mechanisms under the old system that they could rely upon.
Okay, back to Councilmember McConaughey.
Okay, so I've got a suggestion then, because the one section that really gives me a problem is in the agreement, it's section 1 where we say, the city agrees it will dissolve the arts committee created by city in ordinance 8-21 as soon as reasonably practical. It's very specific, very concise. If we broaden that out and we were to make that read, the city agrees it will dissolve the Arts Council and respective subcommittees and the youth theater as soon as reasonably practical. I would be more comfortable with that. I think it takes away from the ambiguity as, well, right now where we're saying these are the specific, I'll stop rambling. I think my comment stands on its own.
Are you then wishing to make a motion regarding that, to include that in?
As soon as the city manager and city attorney are done with their sidebar, I would make a motion that clears up that language.
Can make those changes. We'll just have to have Mr. Groves come in tomorrow after we've made the changes and have him re-sign.
Okay.
We've tried to make sure that, individuals have already signed our agreements before they see them by you folks. But if you're making these changes, I'm sure Mr. Groves will be willing to sign again.
It has no material impact on him, but it makes sure everything's crystal clear. So therefore, I would move that we approve consent item 6J with the following change to section 1. Section 1 would now read, the city agrees it will dissolve the Arts Council and respective subcommittees, comma, and the youth theater created by city ordinances as soon as reasonably practical. That is my motion.
Councilmember Anderson.
I'll second that motion.
You have a motion by Councilmember McConaughey and a second by Councilmember Anderson. So discussion to the motion. Seeing none, let's vote.
Councilmember Whitelock?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey?
Aye.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Riding?
Yes.
Councilmember Burton?
Aye.
Vote passes 7 in favor.
We'll now go to the public hearings section of the meeting. Receive public input and consider for approval Resolution 18-165 regarding the West Jordan Police Department's application for an Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for 2018 in an amount of $38,080. Chief Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I want to present to you the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, or better known as the JAG Grant. This requires that we have a public hearing, so that's why we're here. This is a this is a grant that we receive from the federal government every year to help out local law enforcement for the purchasing of equipment. For many years in our crime scene unit, our crime scene technicians, we have 2 of them. And for many years, we've had a little bit of hardship there. We have 2 of them, and we require our crime scene technician to have a crime scene technician on call, so they're on call every other week. So we've already started a program to try to address that. We have identified 9 patrol officers that we have cross-trained as crime scene technicians, to where now they can take a lot of that burden away from them. So instead of being on call every other week, for our crime scene technicians are on call every 11 weeks. That makes it a lot easier to manage for them. So what we're asking is we're going to be awarded $38,080. What we're asking to do with that money is to equip these 9 officers with crime scene equipment, camera equipment, fingerprint collection equipment, and other type of evidence type collecting equipment. And equip every one of them with that. We also want to add 2 more bags of those to put up into our
our investigative division into different units up there so they can use that crime scene equipment as well. Another thing we want to purchase with the grant is also in the crime scene unit, which is a cabinet, or is a drying cabinet. And what that is a lot of times we collect clothing and other things that have biological fluid on them, whether it's blood or other items. Before we can book that stuff into evidence, we have to make sure it's dried. Because if we book it before it's dried, it tends to grow mold and our evidence no longer is good. So what we're currently doing with that is we're pulling out butcher paper, we're either putting it on a counter or we're putting it on the floor, and we're drying those items before we actually wrap them up, package them up, and book them into evidence. I bet you can guess there's several problems that can come into play with that. Most of all is contamination. We can't have our evidence contaminated. So with the drying cabinet, what that does is it's filtered, and we can place these items into the drying cabinet. They dry where we don't have the risk of cross-contamination from things from the outside. Once it's dried, we can then package it up, place it into evidence, so we're not risking contamination, and we're not risking losing that evidence. Another item we're also looking at purchasing is the ultraviolet sterilization chamber. We use tools in our crime scene lab, and with those tools, obviously, they get contaminated with the evidence that we're dealing with. So it takes some time, we got to sterilize that equipment, and currently we're using bleach and other types of chemicals to clean that. What we want to do is the ultraviolet sterilization chamber, we can place it in there to ensure that those items are sterilized. So we're asking for all these items, and some of the benefits that we receive from this is being that we now have 9 patrol officers on the road that have been trained in crime scene, and if we equip them properly, then we don't have to call out our crime scene technicians as often from home. Saves us a little bit of money in overtime. It will also improve current crime lab processes to reduce the risk of cross-contamination, which is always a fear of ours, to lose evidence because of contamination. So I'll take any questions you may have.
Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Mayor. Question on the forensic equipment. You talked about adding 9 additional officers there and equipping each one of them. And I may have interpreted this wrong, but it sounded like buying equipment for each of them that will only be used once every 11 weeks on call?
No. I did explain it that way, but let me explain it this way, though. The 9 officers are on the road, and if they're on the road and we get a crime scene, we can use them when they're on the road. So they'll be used more than every 11 weeks. It's just they'll be on call every 11th week. But if we have a crime scene tech or a patrol officer that's cross-trained, we'll use them if they are on the road.
And then my follow-up question would be, what's the cost of that equipment? Because if it's something that we could have a couple that are just used by the folks who are on duty at the time and stay at the station versus buying 9. I mean, if it's a minimal amount, I wouldn't have an issue buying 9, but if it's going to be like 3,000 per, I'm not sure I'd want to purchase for all. Can you add any insight there?
Yeah, it's all broken out in the different equipment we have, but it's probably looking like about, well, what's 11 divided by, I can't even do that. I'm thinking it's about $4,000 or $5,000 per bag.
5,000 per bag, and would be
$4,000 or $5,000 for the equipment that's in the camera, the little tents, the little processing equipment for each officer.
And we're looking at 9.
It's about 2,000. Sorry, about 2,000. I don't do the math in my head very well.
2,000 per officer.
Per officer.
9 of those, so 18.
Well, we're doing 11 of them because 2 of them will go into investigations for them to use as well.
So 2,000 multiplied by the 11 officers, so 22,000 for that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that could be housed centrally that they could pick up and just as they're on duty rather than having everybody have their own?
That's possible, but if we have the officers on the road, not knowing how many officers we're going to have on the road at any given time, it's better if they have it in their car where they have easily access to it. But yeah, that's something we could look into.
I'm going to have to think about that one for a little bit. My preference would be if we could get 4 or 5 and they could rotate it through as they come into to the police station, as they start their shift, that they could pick up something there and then put it in their vehicle, or have 1 or 2 that if you're on call, you just take it with you and potentially save $8 to $10 grand that could be used on other things. I think that would probably be my preference.
Okay.
I'm definitely in favor of purchasing the equipment. Don't get me wrong there, I just want to make sure that we don't have an excess that's going to sit and not be fully utilized where we have other needs that could enjoy that funding.
Okay.
Councilmember Burton.
Thank you, Mayor. To follow up on with Councilman McConaughey's, so this grant money that we're getting for these, can it be used for other things besides this?
Yes, it can.
Okay. And is that what we're using to train our officers with, or have they already been trained?
The officers have already been trained.
Oh, so we're covered there.
Yes.
So the amount of the grant looks like it's 38,000 since change, and we're spending 22,000, so we've got an extra.
It's 22,000 on the crime scene equipment, or the bags for the crime scene collection, but we also have the drying cabinet, and we also have the sterilization chamber,
Gotcha.
which gets us about 38,000.
So with all those, you read that number.
Yeah.
Very good. And how do they get that money to us? Do they wire it to us?
It's reimbursement.
Because I was just wondering if that would be a JAG wire.
Yeah.
The city would have. Thank you.
Seeing no more questions for staff, I will now open, thank you, Chief. I will now open this public hearing for anyone from the audience that would like to address this item. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and come back to council for a motion. Councilmember Anderson.
Do we do just for clarity, we're doing a motion, then we have the dialogue, is that?
Correct. We'll do a motion and then we'll have a discussion to the motion.
Can we discuss first, or? Okay, I wanna discuss before the motion, so.
You want the chief back up there for?
Yeah.
You can answer questions while you're sitting.
Yeah, or you can sit there. Either way. Probably streaming better up there, though. I think there's been some really good discussions previous to the public hearing. Is there a timeline where these funds have to be sought after reimbursement, so they have to be reimbursed within a year after the purchase?
3 years.
So you have 3 years, and are there alternative things that you could use? I mean, are there other things that you think of in the budget that would be more useful, or is this the most useful thing right now is having these bags?
There are, but we have to do the whole application process once again and change the application that we've done, but yes, there are things we could use it for.
And is this what was in the application?
Yes.
Is these 11 kits?
Yes.
And the cabinet and the sterilization?
Yes.
So then if we modify it, you would have to change the application with JAG to
Yes.
fit what the purchases were?
Yes, we would.
Okay, that's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Councilmember Whitelock.
Well, follow up to that, then does that put us in jeopardy of not getting the grant?
There's a minor possibility, but chances are we can change it and we can make it fit into what they're asking for with whatever other equipment we're asking for.
So what I heard you say is the reason you requested it this way is for efficiency, basically, because you feel like you don't know if you'll have one officer that's trained or 4 officers in any one given time out on the road.
Yes.
And so if we only have 2 or 3 kits in-house that they pick up each time, they have to remember to pick it up. And then someone's gonna have to sign that in and out, I'm guessing. Somehow you're gonna have to keep track of where it's at, because otherwise, if it were me and I had a busy shift, there's a possibility that it might stay in my car at the end of my shift.
Yes.
And so we're gonna have to have a tracking system, right?
That's true.
So it kind of comes down to efficiency is why you requested it the way you requested it? Would
Yes.
that be correct? Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Anderson.
Seeing that there's no one else desiring to speak, I'm going to make a motion based on the information provided by the chief, the result of the application, that we approve resolution number 18-165 as presented.
Councilmember Lamb?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Anderson, a second by Councilmember Lamb. Discussion to the motion, Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, I feel like I need to speak against the motion. I would prefer to see us go back and redo the grant and see if there's additional equipment that we could fit in there that we need. I understand the concern about having to stop and check things out, but my understanding is we already do that anyway with things like body cameras. They stay here, they charge, the information's dropped off, and other equipment as well. So if it's a matter of 10 grand worth of additional equipment by cutting that number in half, and it doesn't put the city at any risk, I would rather see if we could get some additional equipment. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to speak against the motion this time. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, let's vote.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Riding,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Burton,
Aye.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey.
No.
Vote passes 6-1 in favor.
Now we're going to go to business item, which is discussion prioritization for the city's lobbyists to determine items for the 2019 legislative session. What we'd like to do, and we'll ask council if they have any objection to this, is to move to the short gallery so we can sit around the table and have a good dialogue. That meeting will still be recorded. It just will not be live streamed.
How are you gonna get these masses in there?
I think there's 5 chairs set up for the masses. Is there any questions to the discussion about that, and any objections to it?
As far as moving to the short, I guess.
Councilmember McConaughey, you're up first, I think.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to move that we take a recess until 6 o'clock and reconvene in the Shore Gallery at that point.
Councilmember Lamb?
So I guess the other question is, do we need all the city staff to stay, or can we excuse them?
City Manager? What staff do you not need to stay for this meeting?
Point of order, Mayor. Is my motion dead for lack of-
I've indicated the staff that needed to stay was Scott
Was there a
Langford,
motion?
and maybe Ken Anderson. Beyond that, Brock's welcome to stay because of the potential changes that are coming through the legislature, but and Mr. Wall, I won't impose on Mr. Murray unless Mr. Wall's going to do so. But beyond that, I don't think we need, if you need a sergeant at arms, we probably should ask the chief to stay. But beyond that, I think everyone else is free to leave.
Okay, the next one on the list, Councilmember
Unless the
McConaughey.
council would like to say otherwise.
Thank you. He did not second your motion. He was the next one on the.
I just wanted clarification before.
So your motion's still out there?
I withdraw my motion.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Burton?
Well, I was gonna second his motion, so I'll just go ahead and make the same motion that Councilman McConaughey made.
Councilmember Whitelock?
Do we know that they're not gonna be here till 6? I don't wanna delay till 6 if they're gonna be here.
Well, I certainly know one of them is in the back of the room, and we can start with Mr. Schertz if you'd like. Lincoln is available, and we could probably start with Lincoln's issues, keep him occupied until the others show.
We still did not get a second. Okay, Councilmember Anderson.
So did Councilmember, I didn't hear what Councilmember
His
Burton.
motion was to dismiss until 6 p.m., take a break until 6 p.m., and then adjourn to the short gallery.
There's no second.
There's no second to that.
If that motion's on the table, I'll second it.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Burton, a second from Councilmember Jacob. Discussion to that motion. Councilmember Anderson.
Yeah, my question, not to belabor spending a lot of time on this, however, when we get done with meeting with the lobbyists in the Shore Gallery, I assume we're coming back to the dais to convene into a closed session. Should we do all of this?
Following the agenda, We will have remarks after that and then a closed session.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember McConaughey. It'll be 6 o'clock before we get through talking about this.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to point out that parliamentary procedure per Robert's Rules of Order, once a motion's been made, that motion has priority, and typically it's given the opportunity to have a second or die for lack thereof. If we're looking at time and how long it's taking to proceed in the meeting, I think if we were to stay with that process, it might move a little bit more smoothly. So that's all I was going to say. I would be supportive of the motion on the table.
That would be nice if whoever's next on the list would have said second or not second, then discuss it. But that didn't happen.
I'll just point out that names aren't appearing in the order that your person buttons tonight. When we're all hot at the same time, they're just appearing in the order that they appear. We're all hot at once.
So, okay, all in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Opposed.
Okay, well, the motion passes 6-1.